Okay, so we're now going to fit the Loco axles and the driving wheels, but we can't just the instruction book advises to check the bushes, the axle bushes, for overspray from painting the chassis, and indeed I have got one or two of the bushes that I just need to clean out of the excess paint that's in there. But the thing is, how do you get rid of the paint in there without scratching the bushes or ruining the any paint that you've got on the chassis? And my answer to that is to use cotton buds, and I have here a little cup with some white spirit in, and how I'm going to do it is I just dip it in the white spirit, a cotton bud, take the excess off with a bit of kitchen towel, and then very slowly I'm just going to rub the inside of the bush, starting from outside in. And if you get any of the white spirit on the chassis, just rub it off quickly. Okay, perhaps that's clearer now. Perhaps you can see that now. There you go. Compared to the other side, it's all white. And I'll just continue now cleaning out all the axle bushes. So I've cleaned out the any excess paint from the bushes, and as you can see, I've gone through quite a few cotton buds to sort it out. But anyway, I thought that was the safest way, so I'll just put all that on to one side. Now the next stage is just what I'm going to do now is just test fit the axles to see whether they go in okay. So we'll just put the rear axle in first, push it in, make sure it goes in okay. Yeah. The front axle the same. Yeah, fits okay. So I'll take that out just for a second. Okay, we're going to now go ahead and fit the axles. So what I'm going to do to make it easier to fit the axles and the wheels onto the chassis, I'm just going to turn the chassis over, and I think what I'm going to do is I've got a little oil pen here. I'm just going to put a drop of oil in the axles on both sides, just a little bit there, and on the other side. Just a drop, and then I'm going to do the same. Put the one axle in. Okay, now we're going to fit the wheels. So the bushes of the wheels with the grub screw, they're always facing inwards. So we'll put this fella on, push through, the second one, push through. Okay, and a little bit more oil on this guy. Yeah, just push him in, and then oil on this guy, on this end. And I'm using Common or Garden car engine oil. Okay, there's both the axles. Now that the axles are in, I'm just going to nip the wheels, just clamp them, not to the right gauge just yet, just clamp them somewhere in between like this. Okay, we'll turn them over. Okay, you can see I've already got the outside cranks ready, and you've got an outside crank, 1/8 with a crank pin, a set, and a set without. Now those with the crank pin, they're for the rear axle, and those without the crank pin, they're for the front axle. We're going to deal with the rear axle first. If you look on it, you'll see it's quartered. It's got a square fitting face, and traditionally speaking, on a live steam locomotive, you don't put them both so that they're at the same quarter. The right hand side of the locomotive is always leading by 1/4 turn. So what we're going to do, we're going to fit these now with with the right hand side 1/4 turn leading. It is actually the four BA screws that are used to fit the crank onto the end of the axle. There they are. So let's start putting one on one side. Might just have to just lift it up a bit, put a crank on. There you go. So now to the other side. I'll just put these for the front axle to one side. Remember what I said, right hand side has to be leading. So if this one's vertical, this has to go at 90 degrees like this. Okay, check right hand side. Just see if you can see that in the film. Yep, right hand side is leading. Okay, you can see that both axles are now fitted. The outside cranks are on, front and rear, and you'll notice if I put it up a little bit, these are in the vertical position on the left hand side, so the right hand side should be leading, and indeed the right hand side is leading, so that's correct. The next thing we have to do is check the end float on the axle. Okay, with the axles fitted and the outside cranks on and everything, what we have to check now is the end float of the axle. So we're talking about movement in this direction, horizontal. And we have to check for excessive movement. And excessive movement, what you get in the kit, you get these washers. And the idea is, if you can easily fit one of these washers between the bush and the crank, then you've got excess movement. And you can see it's very easy to fit the bush in between. So I'm going to take it, and it needs to be fitted on the right hand side. They need to be fitted on the right hand side. So turn it over. This is the front of the engine, so this is the right hand side. So they have to be fitted on this side of the engine between the outside collar of the bush and the cranks. So I'll need to take this side off again, the crank this side, fit the bush, and then fit the crank back on. So let's get on with doing that. I'll put it on its side like this. Remove, come on screwdriver. Firstly remove the screw, then take the crank off if we can. Yeah, okay, before I put the bush on, I think what I'm going to do is again just put a little drop of oil on here. just around there. Put the washer on, check which direction the crank, so it needs to go like that, 90 degrees. There you go. This guy's going to go on here at 90 degrees. The right side is leading, and put the screwing back in. Okay, both those spacers are now fitted. I don't know whether you can see on this shot. So just to complete this stage of the build then, we need to adjust the driving wheels to the right gauge. So I'm just going to put the chassis again upside down, and then we have the wheel back-to-back gauge and the Allen key. And because I ride 45mm gauge, this is the 45mm gauge. So the wheels have to this has to comfortably pass between the backs of the wheels. If it was 32, then it would obviously be this one. So I'm just going to loosen the grub screws on both of them, both sides. So put it in the middle, put them to the outside edge. Where do we need to put this in? So it needs to be a bit more, just about there. So I'm just going to tighten this one up. Nip it up, 45mm, other side. Just check. Okay, how much room we got? So does the gauge go in? Yes, it does, just about. Perhaps it just needs to widen it just a little bit more. Just put them a little bit further apart. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, so I'm going to tighten this one up now. So this one, the other one. Check. Okay, and then repeat with the other axle. Okay, so I've done them both. Just fits through. So I think at this stage the proof of the pudding to see whether this is all right and see whether everything's okay is to just give it a roll backwards and forwards on a bit of test track. So let's do that now. So here we go. I've got them on a bit of test track. And it looks and sounds fine to me.